Hi again. This is Sarah. I just want to do one more because I thought that actually the first one was pretty good. I want to talk more about myself, who I am, why I came to do this, why I look and feel super bloated right now. I'm super bloated. My name is Sarah Dahman. It was originally something else. I got married to an interesting individual, and I'm in the process of not being married to that individual anymore, which makes me really, really, really sad sometimes, but it is what it is. People make their choices and they go their separate ways. I decided to walk into the light, and I actually had a conversation with my higher self, higher selves. We have different aspects today, and they were like, well, if you want to be with this person, let's call him Corey for all extensive purposes. If you want to be with Corey, you can give up, dear soul. You can give up your daughter. You can give up your car. You can give up your home because that person is such a drag on you. You can't manifest for yourself. You can barely take care of yourself. You're just trying to defend yourself, not getting sucked into their depression and their darkness. And they're really, really bad choices. Super bad choices. So, sometimes I love, as much as Twilight and other bizarre stuff makes us feel, this emotional song that we can't control, that love is, it's actually a very logical thing. I actually wrote a very brief little paper on Romeo and Juliet and the logic of star-crossed lovers. It looks like emotional chaos, it looks like family chaos, but it actually was a very rational juxtaposition between these two families and what unfolded. It was a very human sort of downward spiral too. Maybe someday I'll put that on the website. But anyway, my name is Sarah. I was born in the Hudson Valley. I grew up in the Woodstock area. Grew up in an interesting family. People were very into religion of all kinds. Jehovah's Witnesses, Judaism, Christianity, and just a lot of what I will cover on my website, maybe not super in depth, but a lot of just human behaviors. When you exist for a long time in darkness, where like my neighbor with the soda, it starts with the soda. That's what they say. It starts with marijuana, but then you end up going to cocaine. No, it starts with soda. That's just an example, and it's a really bad example. But it starts with something really simple, like going to a strip club every Tuesday with your buddies, or eating too many brownies, or buying yourself a Mercedes when you know you can't afford it, or just really going down a path of hedonism or just emotional indulgence, which usually is covering something up, or materialism. It always starts with something small that gets in the way, and then you start to, and you probably were abused and you have a very difficult childhood, and that's usually pretty much the case of everyone on this planet. Everyone on this planet has a story of abuse and hedonism or materialism or something that gets in their way, emotional indulgence, or something horrific that has happened to them that sends them on this path that begins to sort of block the light from their lives until they're living in this little cluster bomb of humanity. We think of humanity as this beautiful universal thing, Jesus and sheep and children, but it's, when you think of I think of humanity, that's the way I usually think of humanity, or the sort of, sorry, I have these ants, this sort of beautiful universal rainbow of life. But when I really look at humanity, most of the planet is living in these very small little traps they set up for themselves, where they're in their rooms with their televisions and their sodas, and they're so slowly degrading biologically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, till they become this incredibly base, where their behaviors, once you get to a very spiritual level, are so predictable. And I was one of those people not too long ago. I've been through like fast forward mode for the past 4 years. I had a huge awakening when I was rumbling around the country with Corey, trying to keep Corey from going to the dark. Well, what was that doing to me? It was slowly dragging me into his sphere of influence, and I was going dark. And cuckoo. I was trying to keep up with this person. I was homeless. I actually volunteered for homelessness. It was better than living in a house or houses with people who were really, really dark, who were so depressed they were sleeping on their couches there for like 10 years, who the only nutritional food they had in their house was ramen. I mean, these are people, and my family was kind of on par with that. I go to my mother's house, and if she ever sees this, I'm sorry, but it's true. She doesn't really have any vegetables. Everything's canned, everything's frozen, everything comes in a little plastic cup. You open my fridge, there's aloe vera juice, there's kombucha, there's organic whole milk, there's organic eggs, there's there's so many vegetables. I eat very healthy. It doesn't save me from a body that will not obey. Being sensitive, you will find, and I think a lot of people are struggling, your biology is because we've lived in such a world with pesticides and additives and preservatives and just junk food and fast food. And I grew up with fast food. I remember Kentucky Fried Chicken coming home, when I was little, and the smell. I just remember the smell. I'm thinking, ooh, this smells gross. Because it has a very manufactured smell. Nothing in the world smells like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Some people love it. I think most people don't. And then, thank God for PETA and telling us about their 2-3-headed chickens at Kentucky Fried Chicken. But anyway, most people I know, I'm 30 years old, grew up, with McDonald's. My mom still goes to McDonald's, gets her Diet Coke and what have you. It's difficult. I think I really would love with a baby like a fast food juicer or a fast food organic restaurant, but of course that would defeat the purpose. So that's, I think everyone comes from that sort of background. I don't feel like I want to get into my specific background. Maybe, because a lot of people I feel on these spiritual websites indulge you because they're still seeking answers to how that came to be. Pretty much know why I had to live through what I've lived through. I know why. There's always a lesson on this planet. Every single moment, every single second is a lesson. Totally a lesson. But I really wanted to address who I am, because my name is Sarah. I grew up in Woodstock, and I've had the run-of-the-mill experience of humanity. When I hit my 20s, I obviously went to school. I studied English literature first, which I found philosophy, and it was like I had stepped on the planet Mars. My brain was working so hard to understand it. I remember popping Tylenol when I was 19. But the point of the story is that it expanded my understanding. It sort of cracked me open like a little coconut. It cracked me open to experience a very different side of life. I felt like I remember writing in a more like spontaneous writing, talking about how like the third rail, like the subways in New York City, they have a third rail where the electricity runs to power the subways, and how I had somehow reached the third rail of life, which I guess I read could be attributed to the spinal cord. Like I was interacting with something. I was trying to understand my interactions with my spiritual self through a very confined thought system at that point. And then I totally just kept opening up, and the more I kept writing, and the more I kept getting into, and then I moved into the Holocaust, because I have family members that survived the Holocaust, and family members that died in the Holocaust. I just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper into some kind of pool. It's kind of like when you get to the bottom of the pool, it reverses and you're into a new world. And having these emotional upheavals while I was writing, and just, I was really touching on something. And then it finally, through extreme, I left school. I finished school. I was supposed to go on to get more school, my PhD, but I was just like, no! Um, I just couldn't do it. So I just ripped myself out of it, moved all the way across the country to Seattle, where I met Corey, who came from a very challenging background, more challenging than I. I don't want to get into that either right now because I don't want to shade my sort of testimony or what I'm trying to say by making it a spectacle, because he had a kind of background that a lot of people on Alex Jones would love to hear about, but he has his own story, and maybe someday I will put it on my website. But I don't want to make what I'm saying into a spectacle. Because of my background, I had a lot of medical issues. I was just so sensitive to energy. Just my body just was shutting down, and I, grew up on glazed ham and Kentucky Fried Chicken and buttered vegetables, and I found it all gross because I couldn't digest it. Couldn't digest it. By the time I got to college, I was getting sick all the time. Couldn't digest my food, was in chronic pain, and gaining crazy weight because everything I ate that my body could salvage for itself stayed with me. So I got like every food I've ever eaten attached to my body. And then I got pregnant. Whew. And I got more sick. With special baby, got more sick. And everything stayed with me. And at this point, I'm just trying to make my biology run well, which actually has been going pretty well. I want to make a shout out to Dr. Mercola, Joseph Mercola, for his digestive enzymes. I wasn't really willing to shell out the money before, but they've really helped me move, and I feel like I'm much better now. And kombucha is also really awesome. Kevitas is a new kind of probiotic drink that's kind of yummy, and it definitely has helped me. Chicken curry. I get my protein, and it's sort of enveloped in a curry sauce, and it's very digestive. Totally random topic, but digestion is the most important thing you can do for yourself. I've learned through some mainstream stuff, like Eat, Pray, Love, of all things. Smile from your liver, a very famous statement in the book and in the movie, because our livers are under attack with all these fast foods, and that's where our spiritual energy is processed. It's one of the major, kind of like we receive the energy through our heads, through our chakras, but it's processed and becomes sort of a matter through our liver. And if your liver is clogged with hamburgers and damage from vaccines and beer, it makes it almost impossible to feel the fourth 40 energy. And which the powers to be know. Of course they know this. Of course they know this. Or some of them know this. I don't know how many know this. But anyway, I studied philosophy. I moved to Seattle. I went through a major spiritual upheaval where I was feeling angels and sitting in stairways and seeing dead spirits, which there are a lot of in Washington, a lot of different interesting things in Washington State. Had some very intense interactions, was sort of thrown into extreme overdrive of my mission that I am on now. I really had to put my philosophy into some sort of practical spiritual way of life, and threw me into the universe, and I just kept going through these extreme events, being homeless. It happened a few times. So I really got it. And then just kept building myself. I spent most of my time in bed with a heating pad, trying to get my body back together, trying to get it to run. I don't care how I look. I know I look right now. I'm super bloated. I'm overweight from being pregnant, and I'm exhausted because my child had a reaction to vaccines, and it's just been an ongoing. Then she developed intestinal problems from the vaccines that made her more sensitive, and it's just constant attention is needed, which worries me too, because she's gonna have to know how to interact in the world without being attached to her super spiritual feel-good mother. And it's already becoming a problem because I took her to the neighbor's party today with the soda and the Doritos. I know. And I was very grumpy today because I hate social obligations where I really don't want to go but I really don't want to make an excuse, so I just go for 10 minutes, and those 10 minutes are just hell. This lady who actually just had a baby ended up screaming in my child's face over something really, I have no idea. She just got excited. And of course the baby's like, oh my god, because my house is so quiet. For the most part, she's crying, and that's the way people are. They're just totally inept socially. They have wrong interactions, wrong responses. I find when you're a light person, and what that means is when you're a person who is far beyond hedonism, has a certain level of control of their materialism. You understand very specifically how to use materialism to benefit you, not to be indulged by it or create some sort of system of austerity, which is going on right now on this planet. You don't, people determining who needs what, it's a communist system. Knowing, well, I need to spend this amount on a printer because I need to print out this for this project, and this project is going to benefit me X. So you can spend $50 on the printer, or knowing that you need, there's going to be a rationale to it that other people aren't going to understand. Whatever. So that's what a light person means. That you begin to see how to live your life in a way that is separate from most of the trends on this planet. And that is what Dear Soul is going to be about. But what was I talking about? I'm getting tired. Oh yeah, my bloatedness. I just feel like I need to explain it because I know I've seen like astrologists and they're supposed to be about healthy energy and blah blah blah. And I will probably, I know, I've been in my head it said 2-3 years time, I will have shrunk down. It's just taking care of my baby, dealing with cuckoo people, and trying to get myself going here. It's just too much stress in my system. I eat super healthy. I will actually make a video of my fridge maybe next time, as I feel some crappiness. I don't even want to look at myself in the camera. I just really don't care. I wish whatever. What was I saying? So that's me. And I lived in Virginia for several years after I left Washington. I highly recommend Virginia. The energies there are great. The people are great. There is a crazy amount of the federal government. There's probably other kind of species too. But it was very relaxing. It just allowed me to just sink into myself and just be like, yeah, this is me. This is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is the direction I want to go in. And that has changed 20 million times because of the fast transition of this planet. It's going very, very fast. One day I'm saying I'm going to live here and I'm going to get a job there and I'm going to have to commute, and then I set up a whole plan, and then 3 days later I have a dream and I need to stay in Woodstock because this is a really good basis to speak from. Because when you grew up in Woodstock, you have some spiritual credibility, you have this sort of hippie new age culture, and I want to talk about that too, how it's a clash to this new energy that's coming in, because the hippie culture is kind of like old energy. So that's where I am right now. I'm in Woodstock with a baby by myself because of other people's bad choices, and that's their life. Corey lives his life. I have a background in philosophy. I'm bloated, but I'm gonna take care of it, and I'm doing the best I can. And that's all you can say to yourself. At the end of the day, you have to say, I am doing the best I can. And that's my second little video blog, Sarah Dummin. Dear Soul, we will have a non-ghetto website soon, I swear. Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Sleep tight. I really need to go to bed. Bye.